As I shared last week, I first sensed a call to the priesthood while praying the rosary through the streets of Tremont, Illinois. And so as I look back on the last 15 years, I'm really not surprised that I've continued that practice of praying the rosary while walking. I did that as a seminarian in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and in Winona, Minnesota, but also as a priest in Rock Island, Illinois. And I continue to do that as a priest right here in Peoria's historic South Side. When I moved here on July 8th, I was, of course, busy not just settling in, but also cleaning and organizing. And I'll never forget my very first walk through these streets. I took off on Antoinette, and I took a left on to Shelley. And I walked by, in a very short distance, a number of parked cars. But as I came towards the end of Shelley, I walked by a parked car, and all of a sudden I heard a voice that said, "Are you a real Catholic priest?" I turned around and I saw a young woman with big sunglasses on. And I just turned around and I smiled, I'm sure, and I said, "Well, I promise you it's not a Halloween costume. My name's Father Jeremy. I'm the new priest at St. Anne's, the church with the green domes." And I asked her what her name was, and she said, "Brianna." And she had a friend with her, and I introduced myself to him, and his name was Brian. We had a very simple conversation, a very simple encounter. And after I said my goodbyes and welcomed them to the church, saying, "It's your church, it's in your neighborhood," I continued to pray my rosary. But I also prayed a memorare for Brianna and Brian. About a week later, I walked down that same street. And then as I came to that spot where I had met Brian and Brianna previously, I remembered them as I was praying. Once again, I had walked by a number of parked cars. And I walked by another one. And once again, I heard a voice, a different voice. And the voice was, "Hey, priest." I turned around and it was Brian. And I said, "Hey, Brian." His immediate reaction was, "You remember my name?" And I said, yeah. And I remember your friend Brianna, where's she at? Because he was with somebody different. So I met his other friend. Brian this time got out of his car. There was something he wanted to share, much more intentional than the week before. And what he wanted to share with me was something pretty cool, pretty phenomenal, really, powerful. It was what he thought and sensed when he saw me the week before. He said, "When I first saw you coming down the street, I said to my friend, 'I think there's a priest coming.' They were shocked, surprised, had never seen a priest walking in their streets before. He saw me with my cassock on, but also my open-toe sandals, my chacos. And when he saw those open-toe sandals, he said, 'I thought, this guy has got to be the real deal.' He thought of Jesus when he saw me. At that, of course, I'm sure I smiled and was just kind of like, wow. Something so simple, but yet how profound that someone could look at me and see Jesus. That's what I'm thinking. But if that wasn't powerful enough, he then shared with me the deeper sense. He said, because then as I saw you and I thought, this has got to be the real deal. He said, I also thought, things are going to change. Things are going to get better in the South Side. He had a sense things were going to change, get better here in the Peoria South Side, just in seeing me. I had a sense walking the streets of Tremont that I was meant to be a priest. That was a grace, a particular grace for me. He had a sense sitting there in his car, just seeing me walking down the street, that things are going to get better, things are going to change, just in seeing me. That's a grace. I 100% believe that. And as he shared that with me, it now became a grace for me. I was taken back, awestruck. I had no idea, in seeing Brian again and talking with him now, that he was going to share with me something so amazing. A grace God had given to him, which now became a grace for me, encouraging me that God wants to do something in and through me for people like Brian, for the people of the South Side. A grace that also made me more aware of the responsibility that I have as a priest here at the parish of St. Anne and for the South Side community. But that grace given to Brian that became a grace shared with me is also a grace for you. Because things aren't going to change and get better just because of me, but also because of you. Because of this entire parish of St. Anne. Because the graces we receive together here as priest and laity, young and old, are going to overflow onto the city streets. Antoinette and Shelley, Garden, Blaine, Lincoln, Matthew, Anne, Sumner, Warren, and Louisa. God is going to bring about real change. Things are going to get better because of Him working in and through us. The parish of St. Anne's is a gift to the South Side. The parish of St. Anne's has a great responsibility. And as you and I, with renewed vigor, with renewed enthusiasm, say yes to our mission, God's going to bring about that change. Things are going to get better for the people here as we proclaim and bring Christ to others.